Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Palm Sunday afternoon. It's the Three Black Docs. Go ahead and grab your drink, your refreshment, whatever it is you rocking with this afternoon, and meet us back here in a few. All right. Well, hey, ladies, what's up?
Hi.
We say this all the time that we really do this off the cuff, and we really are just kind of.
You have no idea.
So, don't make it sound like we janky, though.
Right.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, hey, what y'all drinking? Karen, what you got?
Let me tell you something. Today's one of them days, so I am, believe it or not, just drinking water.
Yes, fine.
You know, I'm going to stay hydrated today. That's what I'm doing.
Excellent.
Okay for the hydration.
Dr. Z, what you got?
So, we talk about how prepared we are, and I ran and got my water on the rocks.
All right.
So that I would not be parched. But I actually, I had a root beer that I had planned for today. That's somewhere in the house. But,
All right.
Hey, it has beer in it. It has the word beer. That's good. That's a start.
Beer. We'll get there.
Roots.
But for me, I'm having my favorite beverage, coffee, because this is usually my afternoon coffee time is right around now. So this is like, I don't know, my third cup of coffee today.
Do you know how jealous I am that you can have coffee in the afternoon? Literally, if I have caffeine after 2 p.m., I will be like wide awake, like exhausted, but eyeballs like this,
It interrupts the sleep patterns.
Oh, God.
I agree.
Brings us to our topic of the day. So a few things to talk about first. February was Cancer Prevention Month. March, as we're at the end of March, was actually Multiple Myeloma Awareness Month. So shout out again to Oncopeptides, who's sponsoring us today and all month. We did podcast all month about multiple myeloma education, clinical trials, really great information there. And also from the patient standpoint, patient advocacy. So check it out if you haven't. March is also colon cancer awareness month as well. Yes. So we have that episode about colonoscopy from, I think it was last summer now. I can't believe we've been doing this for that long.
Almost a year. Wow.
Yeah, right? And so you can certainly check that out. So we are actually going to talk about cancer prevention today because it does hit on both of those topics, right? Myeloma and colon cancer. And since I have this interest in lifestyle medicine and a new board certification, Dr. Karen and Dr. Z are indulging my interest, right? And they have no idea what I'm about to do. So
we have no idea. But did you see how she just glossed over that board certification in lifestyle medicine?
Yeah, well, whatever. Look,
can we spend a second on that?
Yes.
What does that mean, Dr. Avery?
Oh, well, I did some extra training and attended some virtual conferences and sat for a board exam in the fall to get the certification. And it was great. It was
during a pandemic.
Right. But, everybody's doing so much, you know what I mean, right now. But it was great.
We ain't getting new board certifications, are we, Karen?
Nope. Not.
Okay.
Nope.
All right.
Anyway, it was great because there's a lot about, obviously, changes to make. But the larger issue is how to help people make the change. And so that's what I'm going to do today with Dr. K and Dr. Z and whoever's live. I don't know if anybody's looking at this now or not, or if you are later. I'm going to go through how you can actually start to incorporate to make changes and what has worked for me in the past. Over many years, I made a lot of lifestyle change, which is probably why I ended up getting board certified in it. You kind of follow your own interest, right? And what you're doing in your life. And so I thought it would be fun to put you guys on the spot as we work through sort of these cancer prevention tips, because what I don't want to do today, and this is kind of my beef around lifestyle medicine and prevention stuff, is we give you this laundry list of things, right? And we say, don't smoke and go exercise and cut out the meat and all that stuff. And everybody says, you trying to take everything I love in life. I'm not doing any of it. Goodbye. And that's it. Right. And so I think that's the wrong approach. And so we are going to start to change that today. So the first thing to think about.
I'm scared, Dr. Z. I'm just saying.
I know. I'm like, what did I sign up for?
Don't be
exactly.
scared.
I was like, should I leave now?
I know. We can run away.
Don't be scared. All right. So the first thing to acknowledge, right, is that there are different phases of change. There are some things you don't give a hoot about. You're not planning to change. I could sit up here and tell you till I'm blue in the face to cut back on meat or to go for a walk. And if you're just not interested, you're just not having it.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, that's fine. So as we go through the list, I want you, to pick something. I'm going to let the people know. We're going through a list of how to prevent cancer. Okay, we're going to let the people.
Okay.
But what I want you guys to do, and whoever's listening as we go through, is just pick one thing that resonates. What is one thing that you are interested in changing? Okay.
So this goes to readiness for change, right? And so we talk about this a lot of times for people who are smokers. Like, there's no point in talking about smoking cessation if they're not ready to give that up. So you're saying you're going to go through a list of things that can help us to reduce our risk of developing cancer. And you want Dr. Z and I and whomever else is listening right now to select what?
Yep. Just one thing.
Just one. Just one.
Okay. All right. That doesn't sound too bad.
Okay. There's more. Pick an easy win.
Just can't win.
No, you can win. That is exactly the point.
Okay. I'm trying to prove your point.
Okay.
All right.
Step 2. Easy win. Pick low-hanging fruit for you. I think where we always get this wrong is that we're like, okay, here's this long list of things that everyone needs to do. And people are different. You like what you like. You don't like what you don't like. And so I think this is the wrong approach. When you're starting to make lifestyle change, give yourself an easy win, for God's sakes. Give yourself a break. Okay. We talk about it a lot. And, Dr. Karen and I get into back and forth about meat. Okay. And as she knows, I don't eat red meat. I haven't in like 20 years. But the truth of the matter is that was an easy win for me. I never really liked it. I never really liked hamburgers. I never really liked steak. It wasn't a big deal. So when I learned, this can have health impacts, it was like, I won't miss it now. So I haven't had red meat in 20 years or so. It's not like I'm gonna die if somebody slips me a hamburger. I won't. But again, this is low-hanging fruit for me. It just didn't matter that much. So it was easy to do. And probably starting with something that was an easy win for me probably set me on the path to tackle larger things like French fries and sweets, which I just started tackling when I got to elite level lifestyle status.
That was your gateway into healthy living.
Wait, did she say elite level lifestyle status?
Did you hear that?
What in the world?
I coined that myself. Because
apparently.
But this
elite
is
level.
I love sweets and I love French fries. Okay. So if I had started off saying, well, I'm going to stop eating sweets, and that's going to be like my first lifestyle change, I probably wouldn't have been that successful. Like, this was kind of a muscle that I had to learn how to use, so that when I got to the harder stuff for me, which is sweets and fries for the most part, that I had some tools in place, right? Because I know that those were my weaknesses. Okay. So we're going to go through this list.
Okay.
I'm not going to spend too much time on the numbers and all that stuff because, quite honestly, it's Palm Sunday. It's my mom's birthday.
Oh,
happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mom.
I'm trying to live. And I just want to do what's fun for me. And let's be honest, you can Google this stuff, right? So let's talk about the list.
Wow, she just shortcut and saying, y'all Google it. Okay.
I didn't say y'all Google it,
So
but
we are going to trust the information that you're providing.
Well, no, but I think where we get it wrong is we take all the time, and Karen, you tell me this all the time. You take all the time to go over the numbers, and then we're not really talking about
the how-to
and how to use it. Okay,
I'm with you.
Fair enough.
Here's the list. Think about what you're interested in and what's your easy win. And if anybody's watching, I don't know because I can't see, put it in the chat. Here we go. I will start off by saying the World Health Organization, WHO, estimates that 30 to 40% of cancer cases are attributed to lifestyle. All right. So we're not going to argue that these are important things to do. They are. They all have different levels of impact, but here's your list. Okay. This is according to the World Cancer Research Foundation and AICR and all these things. All right. Number one, quit smoking. Okay.
I'll take that one.
Okay. If you're a non-smoker, this is not going to be your event.
I can't do that.
No, that would be cheating.
Body weight. Okay. Maintaining a healthy body weight. And we talked about it. It impacts multiple myeloma, colon cancer, breast, pancreas, stomach, etc. Okay. Maintain a healthy body weight. Limit red processed meat. Okay, what are we talking about with processed meat, specifically bacon, sausage, lunch meat, deli meat? Limit. Okay.
I'm just thinking about my weekend.
The study
hamburgers, sausage, hot dogs.
Okay, so there are two levels, right?
Bacon.
The strongest evidence is
for bacon this weekend.
Yeah, I didn't have bacon either. Yeah, I didn't have bacon this weekend yet.
See, and this is a problem because as soon as you start talking,
and we always go to bacon. It's looking at me. It's a big pet.
Could you let me live?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
When you're talking about like 2 slices of bacon a day now, okay, keep that. All right.
2 a day.
So limit red and or processed meat. Okay. Limit alcohol. All right. And we know alcohol is a risk factor for cancer.
I can take that one. Development.
No, because you don't drink. All right. Next thing, limit sugar sweetened drinks.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. Physical. Wait, I'm giving you the list now. Physical activity, right? You have to avoid sedentary behavior. All right. We know that there are links,
especially with COVID.
Yes, there are links for 13 hours a day. You've got to have moderate physical activity, in the range of 150 minutes per week, but also you can't sit down because even if you do that, if you're sitting stationary for 12 and 13 hours, as a lot of us are, more so now than before, that's a separate issue. Okay.
Right. And this has really come up with the pandemic. Everyone's working from home.
Really come up with the pandemic. Alcohol has come up with the pandemic too, right? We know that the sales of alcohols have gone through the roof. So we know that those are 2 issues. Okay, next thing. Limit fast food or processed foods. Okay.
And wait, can we talk about that a little bit? Because a lot of people will think about fast food and like, okay, well, I'm not going to McDonald's or whatever, but there's so much processed food at the grocery store, right? It's the prepackaged stuff. It's the stuff in cans. That's the processed food piece. And remember that whole, I mentioned that documentary, The Food Inc., and how, our country has literally made food a business. And, anytime capitalist thinking gets involved with anything, it ruins it. Right? So our food has been so overprocessed, even the stuff that we think is organic or healthy. And so because we're so far removed from food, you got to be careful. And so this is why looking at, the labels is important. So when you say processed food, I mean, think about if you're reading your list of ingredients and you can't pronounce half the stuff, that's a processed food. Okay. So I just wanted to make that clear. That's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about. Would your great grandparents have recognized it as a food? And how close is it?
Because I'm like, they make stuff look real.
You know, just think about that. Like, were there Doritos around, and like, would these fruit wrapper things, roll ups or whatever? I mean, they wouldn't know what that was. They know what an apple is, but like an apple roll up.
Yeah.
So, would your great grandparents have recognized this as a food? And how close is it to the way that it came out of the ground or off the tree or off the bush?
If it comes in a bag, box, or can, it's processed.
Okay.
Yes, Miss Richard.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you.
There you go.
Exactly.
A bag,
you want to
box,
get this
can.
as close to the way it sprouted, grew, came off the tree, out of the ground as you can. Now, here's an interesting thing about processing, and it goes back to meat. Because whenever you get to question, like when you talk about meat and you're like, well, my parents, they grew up eating, hog, and they slaughtered their own hogs and all of that, and they were fine. But think about the way that meat is processed now compared to 2 generations ago, where people were kind of eating fresh meat, that was closer to them as opposed to everything that goes on with sort of processing.
But also, and it's not even just the processing, it's what they're being fed, right? So remember, that's what the Food Inc. was talking about, how most livestock now, if they're commercial livestock, are being fed corn, and that's not what these animals have been eating. And so that actually impacts, what nutrients are in the meat and how our bodies can process. So it's really very different than
it's very different.
Having your own
the animals are raised, in these little cages and housed in, these sort of warehouses, and they're not roaming around and all of those things. So in anything you want, whether it's your meat or your fruits, veggies, grains, you want it as close to the way nature intended as possible.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. And Kim Bards has a really good point. Oh, go ahead, Jeannie. You're about to say the same thing.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. All frozen heat and eat meals.
Yes.
Right? Because they look very close to
I don't like the way y'all trying to come at me on this Palm Sunday.
Oh, we coming at look.
Wow.
Look, we coming. Because what y'all not gonna have me do is sit up here and read a list so everybody can tell me I'm trying to take everything they love.
I mean,
okay, how many more things are on this list? Can we get to these? Because look, all right,
but that's a great point.
Angst.
Heat and eat meals are processed and have so much salt. So when we talk about salt, and this is not on the list, but just as an aside, people kind of think about, well, I'm not gonna sprinkle table salt and stuff. That's not where your salt is coming from. It's coming from the pre-made meals, processed meals, canned stuff. If you ever look at if you have frozen stuff in your frozen foods in your freezer, the next time you go to the grocery store or something and you're in that aisle, just look at what the sodium content is in one of those.
For the processed foods. Sometimes the frozen vegetables are actually better.
No, not the frozen vegetables. And the other thing is soup that you get off the shelf is full of sodium. So these are just kind of sneaky things again to think about. All right. So just to recap, since we're all going to choose what we're focusing on, what's your easy win and what are you actually interested in? It's weight, limiting red or processed meat, limiting alcohol, limiting sugar, sweetened drinks, getting your physical activity, all right, limiting fast or processed foods, and increasing whole grains, veggies, fruits in the diet. The other thing is vaccination, but we're not going to talk about that because that's not a lifestyle thing. That's go get your shot. Well, but that's in terms of HPV, right? So we talk about that too. It's on the podcast.
Oh, it's HPV vaccination.
Yes, for prevention, right? Okay. So
let me know, because that's important too.
Let me know, what are you even interested in changing?
So
what are you interested in changing in the next 3 to 6 months? What even lands here?
Look at you. We're trying to make us do goal setting.
Where are
Okay.
these goal setting? And what's
Dr.
or
Tiffany, the queen of livestock, right?
what are you interested in? Or
So
what
I will.
hold on.
Okay.
Or what would be an easy win? What do you not really like that much that you could say, and let us know in the chat. I guess there are folks here.
Sugar sweetened beverage for me. Yeah. So folks online, folks who are watching, what's something you'd be interested in perhaps on that list? And I will say sugar sweetened drinks. I mean, I do like my ginger ale. So, but that's still a sugar sweetened beverage, right? But I'll have ginger ale a couple of times a week. And so I could probably cut back a little, maybe.
Excellent. All right. So sugar sweetened drinks for you. All right, Dr. Z.
So, I think Karen and I are on the same page. I'm thinking about this and I'm going to think out loud. So be afraid.
Okay.
So I pretty much need at least one soda a day. And it's to the point that even at work, I mean, there's like a little refrigerator for me to make sure that it's fully stocked, that I have a soda every day.
Yeah, we're about to put that in my office.
And I don't know if it's the caffeine. There's just something about a nice cold soda that makes me a little bit happy. But since I've been dealing with you and you've been doing this more lifestyle medicine stuff, I'm starting to feel a little bit guilty, and I don't like that.
Well, you don't have to feel guilty about it.
I know.
Feel guilty.
I know.
Just notice.
It's something that I do think that I should probably cut out, but I don't know what to replace it with.
I was going to say, you don't really have a vice. It's not like you drink coffee.
That's the thing.
I don't drink 2 cups of coffee in the morning,
Yeah, because I don't drink coffee. Yeah. And then, we're talking about the weight thing. I still need to kind of get to a healthy weight.
Oops,
right?
Well, that's exactly the point. Weight is not your issue.
No, I have to increase. Actually.
Right. Weight is an issue for most Americans, but not for you. So that's not your thing, right?
So I'm afraid to cut out my one little vice. So I'm holding on to it for right now. Having said that, I think my low-hanging fruit may be increasing fruits and vegetables.
Okay, great.
Okay. So I eat probably at least 1 serving of vegetables a day, probably with fruits 3 or 4 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I have room to improve.
Okay. So the next thing is in context of whatever it is you picked. Okay.
Okay.
And for the folks listening.
Yeah, Ms. Richardson said, her easy win? Okay, limiting nitrates from bacon and sausage, reducing the amount in a serving across your days for breakfast. Girl, more power to you. I'm having my bacon.
Excellent. No, but that's her.
I'm proud of you.
That's it.
I'm proud of her.
Maybe you work up to bacon, Karen, the way I worked up to sugar and French fries, right?
Yes,
excellent.
Correct.
Okay. So here's the next.
I'm not having bacon every day, so that's my disclaimer. Go ahead.
Good.
Oh, you're not?
Mm-mm. I used to, but I've cut back.
Okay. So the next thing to think about is you might already know, and if you don't, notice for the next week, just notice what your habits are, okay? And look at it over the week on how much you're getting. In your case, Karen, you said it was going to be sugar sweetened drinks, or Zanetta, how little you're getting or how little variety there may be. And the reason I tell you to think about this over the course of a week is that's where it adds up. So I'll kind of share this story. Somewhere along the way when I was like, okay, I'm going to finally lose, baby weight and all that jazz. And I'm going to start running again and it'll be fine. Right. So what was happening is I would have a plan in my head of like, okay, I'm running 4 days a week and whatever. So Monday would roll around and I would talk myself out of it for whatever reason. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Tuesday would roll around and I would talk myself out of it. Maybe I got something in on Wednesday, but usually by the time the weekend came, there was only like a few days left in the week. And maybe I had gotten 2 days in a week. In my mind, I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting all my miles in and I'm doing what I need to do, which means I can also treat myself coming back to the fries and sugar scenario. And so what I noticed when I stopped thinking about it day to day and looking over the week was actually you're not exercising that much. And in your mind, you have allowed yourself to now go and treat yourself. Right?
Because you don't deserve it.
Right. I exercise, so now I can go and do, I can have some fries or a cupcake or whatever the case is. Right. And so it wasn't until I kind of, took a step back and looked at what was actually going on in that week, that I could have a better handle on like why the scale was going up, because it wasn't muscle weight. Right.
Can I ask a question now? You said something that just, so you said cupcakes. So there's a cupcake shop in Nashville. I can't remember the name of it, but they have it's like carrot, like it's almost like a carrot cake. That's healthy, right? So
no.
Okay.
It has a little bit of carrot.
It's got carrot. It's got vegetables in it. Vegetables. Right? So like zucchini.
Vegetables.
Right. So you're going to notice your habits. You're going to
ignoring me, Z.
I'm ignoring you. You're going to notice what your mindset is, okay, around that.
Yes.
And notice what your supports are and what keeps you accountable.
Okay.
So what do you think? Zanetta, you want to increase your fruits and vegetables. What does your week look like?
Oh man, my week is a mess.
How many days in the week would you say that you get fruits and vegetables?
I will say that I get vegetables probably 6 days a week.
Okay, that's great.
Either at lunch or dinner.
Okay, that's great.
But with
what about fruits?
Fruits, it's less than that. And it really depends. There are these apples that we really like called Honeycrisp apples.
Yeah.
And they're always gone in the store. So you have to time it the right way. The other thing, usually when I eat fruits, like today, for instance, I went to the grocery store and I got some strawberries. But then we do strawberry shortcake. We get the strawberry glaze and this and the whipped cream. Would that be, does the strawberry in that count by the time I'm finished with it though? It doesn't feel like it does.
You can make your own. You don't have to use the glaze though. You can just cut up the strawberries and allow them to kind of macerate a little. You know what I mean? And that would actually be a nice substitute for just don't use the glaze, people.
Just don't use the glaze.
Yeah.
In the little.
So here's something very specific for you. All right.
Okay.
So we figured out over your week that you're doing pretty good with your vegetables, right?
I could do better though. I feel like I can.
Okay. And you can increase your fruit. So think about, you like apples. Are there other fruits that you like? Other fruits?
Like apples and strawberries and grapes. But see, the thing about the grapes in my house, and now I'm almost afraid to say this online, if we don't wash them and put them in the little special thing, we don't eat them. We have to wash the whole thing. Yeah.
That's a great observation. So now you know that is one of the ways that you fail, right? Because if you don't wash them, they go bad. So you could come up with a plan to say, I am going to get these grapes. I'm going to wash them because I know this is how it makes me successful, and have them available, right? When it comes to veggies, you're a good example because you're getting a lot, but you want to get more. So you can start to think about, are you getting a rainbow of veggies?
No.
Okay, great. So what are you eating most? Green?
Yeah, so salads. I do a lot of salads. Green beans. We started with carrots, like sweet carrots. Those are pretty good. The kids like those a lot. I just found like these zucchini spiral things. But I'm not sure what to do with them. I'm not sure how to.
It's a pasta substitute.
Yeah, but it's new. I just need to figure out how to make it better.
Okay. So
I need more ideas.
When I talk to people about veggies is one of two things. Either they're eating a few things from sort of one, just like we said, one kind of color. You want to think about the rainbow, right? It increases your antioxidants. It feeds your gut. You know, we talk about gut health a lot in the microbiome, and you get a lot of fiber. So you want to think about eating a rainbow, eating from different colors. The other thing that people say a lot about vegetables is like they had bad vegetable experiences as a kid. So it's like
Brussels sprouts I hated because my mother used to get the canned Brussels sprouts that were soggy to start with, and then you boil them up and they were even soggier. I couldn't stand Brussels sprouts, and it wasn't until my husband started cooking them the way it was supposed to be done that I'm like, oh, these are actually good, you know?
Right. And so you kind of think about, you know, examine what your mindset is there. Like, are you in a stumbling block because, you know, you had soggy Brussels sprouts as a kid? And so what could you do? Could you try them a different way? Could you try to eat different vegetables? Maybe you don't like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and cauliflower, but start to think of kind of the other ones that exist, like blue, purple, orange, yellow, even white.
Right.
You know, think about it in terms of the rainbow and see, you know, for some people, it might be just trying to get them in at 2 meals a day. You said you did that already, so that's fine. For you, it sounds like it's variety. For other people's, it might be just preparing them differently. But until we sort of notice what our habits are and then what our mindset is around that, you can't really change anything. Does that make sense?
Does your family eat vegetables, Annetta?
Yeah. So my kids, we never did grow. Well, I'm not going to say never, but I mean, we ate a lot of not so many vegetables growing up. But my kids, they eat fruits and vegetables, and they will eat what we make.
That's great.
They will. And I think my daughter probably will become a vegetarian because she doesn't eat a lot of meat. And so we don't force it on her.
Yeah.
But I also want her to be able to have variety. And because I don't have that background with variety, I really don't know what to do. And I feel like I need someone to help me. Help me make these palatable.
Let me just mention a couple of things, because let me tell you, those spiral zucchini, because they have the yellow squash that's also spiraled, and you can mix the yellow and the green. Those things are such time savers, and they're awesome, especially when they're fresh and you get them done from the grocery store. So it's a time saver, and they're so good. I literally make them like spaghetti. And, you know, literally just a very quick boil. You want a little bit of texture on there, a little marinara sauce. So you're getting tomatoes on top of the yellow green. So you have yellow, green, red. And, you know, Parmesan, you salt and pepper them, Parmesan cheese, a little bit of cheese on there. Girl, it is so good. And I tell you, it's one of those things that I personally forget about. I'd made the mistake of buying frozen spiral. Don't do that because they're waterlogged and nasty. You need the fresh ones that are there. But, you know, we can talk about recipes because, you know, again, like I am the queen of, I will Google anything. I'm like, oh my goodness, I haven't gone grocery shopping. What do I have around? You know, and there are certain things that just, you know, I tell you, I love having Google available. And then because I had, you know, Chef JD still in my brain, I have some of his techniques in terms of, you know, making sure you could toss onions and peppers on anything and make it taste good. You know, a little garlic, you know, it's good. It's good. But yes, I love this, Tiff. This is great.
So this is actually perfect because the next step is what is your support system and who's going to hold you accountable? Okay, so you just found your support system.
I know, the mother-in-law
who wants
and Karen
and your mom, right? Exactly, right. So, but think about that. You know, for whatever you're thinking, whatever it is you're trying to change. Or for whoever's listening, who's your support system and how do you need to be held accountable? That's a mind thing too. And that changes for everybody. I'll tell y'all this story. So you guys know I like to run. Every now and then you guys will get a random text from me, you two, on a Tuesday that'll say, just ran a 10K on a Tuesday. And y'all will be like, whoop-de-doo, go away. Like, why are you telling me this? Okay. The reason I'm telling you this has nothing to do with trying to goad you into doing anything or saying, hey, look at me.
I didn't know there was a reason.
No, I'm telling you, there's a reason. It's accountability. Because for me, my mind, right, will go to a scenario of like, I hope no one asks me, like, did I do my run today? And then I have to say no, because I was looking on my phone. It got into like the rabbit hole of YouTube videos instead of doing my run. Like, I just don't want that to happen, right?
Nobody's going to ask you though. Tiff, nobody's going to ask.
Listen. Nobody's going to ask me that. But that's a mind trick that I use because I know that I don't want to have to admit to anybody that instead of doing my run that day, I was sitting on the couch watching YouTube videos. No offense to YouTube, right? But that's because I know how my mind works, right? Mm-hmm. What happened when I started running again, because I've run and stopped many times, like over the years. This is what my mind does when it's time to run. And I've shared with you guys, there's rarely a time that like I'm super excited to start. For me, I got to get started, and it's like 10 minutes in that I start to feel good. And I know that, right? So when I'm like, okay, it's time to run, my mind will say, I'm too tired. I don't want to. I could be doing other stuff. And by now I know, just ignore that. It's chatter. Just ignore, put your shoes on and get started. All right. If it's a really bad day that I'm like, I'm tired, whatever happened at the job, the kids are driving me nuts, whatever's going on is going on, whatever, that's when I got to dig deeper into my bag of tricks. Okay. So this is what I did. I mentioned before that, I would get to the end of the week and I haven't done anything. So you guys know I have a rule now. I do my longest workouts Monday and Tuesday because it sets me up for the week, because I learned by paying attention. Right. What was happening was I was talking myself out of the runs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then thinking, well, I'm gonna just run Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which I'm not.
But you've already said you're elite, so let's take this down a notch to people like me.
But this is what this is what I'm saying. The way I got to that was to notice. It was just noticing when I first tried to start that I was like, okay, I want to run 4 days a week. What the hell happened this week? How come I only got 2 days in? And it was like, oh, well, on Monday, when you were ready to run, you listened to the chatter that said, oh, I'm too tired. I'll do it tomorrow. On Tuesday, when you were ready to run, you listened to the chatter that said, I need to finish this work instead. I'm going to do that.
So how can we help Sandra?
Now.
Right. Yeah. Let's take this out, because I'm not going to be running a whole bunch of miles.
But that's my point. My point is just to notice.
Right.
And this is what I meant for you, Zanetta. It's not to make you feel guilty.
This is helpful.
No, notice your pattern,
right?
And notice how your brain works so you can attack it. And it's not the same for everybody. So I can't say to Sandra, this is how you get started walking in. I have no idea. I don't know what's going on in your mind. I don't know what your support
because I get vegetable overwhelmed. Right. And so I just need to,
You need to notice that and come up with things. So what I'm saying is, over time, what I have learned is I got to sort of, if it's a really, really, really bad day, Monday and Tuesday, I'm getting that run in, and whatever I got to do, I'm doing. So if you get a text from me on a Tuesday that says, hey, did a 10K on a Tuesday, you know now, dang, she really, 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 really didn't want to do her run today and had to come up with a scenario of like, I don't want to admit that I didn't run today and that's why I did it, right? Then I send you guys a text and you're like, so what? And I'm like, victory, So you've got to know how your mind works. You have to know what keeps you accountable.
Right.
And the other thing, as you guys know, I'm big on support systems and social connection, right? You're more successful if you can connect with other people. And again, it depends on how, some people are introverts. So some people would rather do like an online thing where you don't really, you're not in person. We're in COVID. There's not that much for in person too.
So I think I really want you to, so with Sandra.
Address Sandra, yes.
Yeah, I want, let's go to her.
Okay, yes.
She says, I have to get back to walking a lot again. So Sandra used to walk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about, we have to do 150 minutes or so per week of moderate intensity exercise.
Right.
If we were, if you were trying to help Sandra, what would be some things you would say to her?
Well, I would say, when you were walking the most, what did it look like? When were you walking in the day? Where were you walking? Who were you doing it with? Were you listening to music? Were you doing it on your lunch break? If you've been successful before, what was going on at that time in your life when you were already successful? Start there.
It's interesting that you said that, because I went on a bike ride. I do it my Sunday afternoon bike ride. How I fit that in today, it was only God. But I was listening to a podcast, and one of the things that they said was people are more likely to be successful with like exercising or cleaning up if they're listening to music.
Yes, that's correct.
So I thought that was just a good point that you made, how important music is.
I love the thought of, if you were successful doing something, thinking back to what was it, what were the elements of success. And again, this is important because of COVID-19 having disrupted everyone's life. And so this is a real thing. So, maybe, Sandra didn't say, maybe she isn't walking as much because, she's working from home, or, she's more sedentary. I've certainly, like, when you talk about needing to get up and not sit in one spot for 10 to 12 hours, which is literally, I can literally sit in the same spot for 10 hours. It's ridiculous. Like, it's because of COVID. Like, before I would have, meetings, maybe not as many because I literally had to walk from one office to the next, but I was moving at least. I was getting up and moving. Right. And so this COVID-19 has really impacted and disrupted people's lives. So I love the fact that you say, think back to the time when you were successful. What were the elements? What were the conditions? How are you feeling? Yes. All right, Sandra. So she would go in the morning, listening to music before the mall opened, right? And, again, there may be some things that have changed and the reason why, and the fear of COVID and all that kind of stuff. So I love that tip. That's really great advice to say, if you were successful doing something, how are you successful at that time? What were your supports right then? And can you recreate that? I love that.
Yeah. Thanks. The other thing I would say about all of this, that people, when you're starting to try to change something, is it's like the chicken or the egg, or like seeing something before you believe it, or believing something before you see it, right? Because what tends to happen is once you start to make the change, you start to get used to other stuff. Your taste buds change, your cravings change, you get used to being active, so it doesn't feel good to sit for 13 hours a day. But you've got to take that first step and start on the path. This comes a lot in terms of, again, fruits and vegetables, where folks are like, well, I don't like fruit. I don't like vegetables, right? But when you just start to change just something, what you notice is like your taste buds change. The things you crave change. If you get yourself into a habit, turning off the mind and just getting into the habit of being active, it will not feel good to sit for 13 hours. It does not, like I, before, earlier in life, would have to set the Fitbit and like get up. But now, because I'm so used to being active, it just doesn't feel good to me. I have to get up and move. Okay. Same thing happened with taste, right? Like I was like, I need to increase fruits and vegetables, just like you, Zanetta. Right. And I've gotten so used to now, like I have berries every day with breakfast. Doesn't matter what I'm eating, unless, every now and then something else. But I'll have a couple of berries, and that's what I'm used to. This morning is Sunday, and because I'm lucky, my husband cooked pancakes. He normally puts berries in my pancakes, and then I put berries all on top and everything else. We were out of berries because I didn't get to the store yesterday. All right, real life. We're out of berries, no berries. I was craving something fresh. Like I was just craving fresh fruit. And so I wound up eating an orange after my pancakes and my one slice of bacon. Right?
So can we get back? I want
to change so much that I'm just I was craving that. But I wasn't craving that before I started on this part of the journey, right? And so
Karen, where were you?
So I'm just saying, because we only have 10 minutes, and I appreciate hearing I want to help people. I want to help some of the people who might be listening. Yes. So one of the things is that all three of us have had patients with cancer who also need to make some lifestyle changes, right?
Yeah. Right.
And so we know that cancer, just like COVID has disrupted many people's lives, going through a cancer diagnosis and treatment and it has a lot of stuff. So what are some ways to help people gradually? Like, what are some things? I mean, Zanetta, tell me a little bit about how you counsel your patients, even in terms of, when they come to you and say, all right, doc, can I exercise, or what are your thoughts, or, tell me a little bit about what are some of the ways that you encourage your patients, as they're going through this treatment.
I will be honest, Dr. Tiffany has made that discussion so much better since I've been around her, because a lot of my conversations are happening more after the cancer treatment is
Yes.
over,
Mm-hmm.
and that's in a time where, the chemotherapy is finished, and what can I do now? And I actually say exactly what Dr. Tiffany has taught me, like trying to get 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, and also baby steps. Like, you cannot change the world,
Mm-hmm.
overnight. This is a process, it's a journey. It took, 50 years to make you the person that you are.
Mm-hmm.
So let's really just try. And I like what Sandra was saying. Let's just start with walking. Like, you may not be able to get to the moderate intensity,
That's right.
uh, can talk but can't sing exercise just yet. But you know what? If you can just get up and walk,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's a start. And actually, it's funny. Some of the things that Tiffany's saying, that's what I say to my patients, but I'm not really, I may not be doing it myself, but also just knowing that I also say,
All
have a
right. Do
support
what I
system.
say.
Who's your accountability? I'm just going to stop talking.
Yeah, but I think
But
the one thing that I will have sometimes patients talk about is that they're like, oh, I've been diagnosed with cancer. I need to change my lifestyle now. And I think sometimes it's, I mean, I think that that's okay, but I also think it's okay to delay, right? Because the treatments themselves are pretty intense.
right.
You have this new diagnosis. There's all this fear associated with it, and I like to tell patients, look, I'm happy to support whatever you decide. If you decide that you want to be active, that's great. I do kind of say the same thing. I said, start with something simple if you've not done it before. I said, but it's also okay to wait a little bit, see how you feel, right? Because you might have some fatigue, there might be some other things. And then after you're done with treatment, let's revisit, right? So I make it clear to my patients that I'm in this with them, right?
Right.
That we
We
will
are a
come back to
team.
this. Exactly. And that, and I usually say it's usually at the first visit that they come back after they finish
Hmm.
radiation therapy. Then that's when I say, okay, now let's talk about some of the lifestyle things. Here's some things I want you to do, right? We've done our work together, right? You've done great. Now let's talk about some of the things. If they're smokers, I say, it would be really great if you can quit smoking, but let's talk about, cutting back, right? Or if they're, obese, or overweight. And I say, okay, you had mentioned earlier that you want to think about some lifestyle things, or even if they haven't, I'll bring it up at that point. So I think one of the things I just want to say to patients who have gone through a cancer journey, or are still continuing, or are part of the cancer journey right now, or on a cancer journey, it's okay to say, I'm going to handle this whole disease thing, and
Hmm.
wrap my brain around that. And before I feel like I need to do everything, because that's like Tiffany was saying, Dr. Tiff was saying, people do try to make all the changes at once. Okay, I'm going to
Right.
cut down on sugar, and I'm going to exercise, and I'm going to lift weights, and I'm going to, not drink sweet, and then they
It
overwhelm because there's
becomes,
so much at once. And I
yeah,
think again, just a cancer diagnosis is overwhelming. So I do want to
correct.
say, if there's any listeners out there, yes, lifestyle is important. And even if and we're talking about things that you can do to prevent cancer, but these are things that you can do to prevent cancer recurrence and things that you can do to prevent another cancer, right? So I have some of my patients that are 2-time or 3-time cancer survivors, different cancers, and so really important to know that all of these things, all these lifestyle things that we're talking about are good, throughout life, regardless of what's going on. But
Right.
sometimes you might just have to, tackle one thing at a time.
Right. And it's important because this is free, right? It's the best thing that you can do, and the cheapest thing that you can do for your body is exercise.
Well, but you know what my favorite thing about it is,
What?
you guys know this, is that it puts it puts the power back into your own hands, right? And I mean, we're talking about it in terms of, Karen brought up in terms of cancer patients, but also in terms of, like, if you don't have cancer and you just want to prevent, I mean, there's a lot of power that you have, a lot of stuff you can do. It's not, it doesn't all have to come, from kind of the doctor and what we prescribe. There's a lot of power that you have to impact this stuff in a really big way. I mean, I didn't go through all of the numbers because I didn't want us to get stuck there. But know that, avoiding being sedentary, for hours and hours a day, and taking small walk breaks, and, getting the 150 minutes of moderate activity, and decreasing the alcohol, decreasing the meat, that it really does, impact by order of degrees and percentages, depending on what you're looking at. And so this is something where, the power's back in your hands. I mean, I talked about falling down a rabbit hole of watching videos. One night, like a Steve Harvey video popped up of like this 86-year-old woman who literally walks steps in her apartment. She walks her steps in her apartment with her Fitbit.
I have people that do that.
And I'm like, so to me, it's like, it's as simple as, I mean, okay, that's boring. Do I want to do it? No, I don't. But it's just right at the tip of your hands, just to recognize that it's impactful, and that you've already have a lot of the tools to make an impact. And it's not about, taking everything that you want to, that you like, and, trying to avoid things because everyone dies at some point, all of this stuff that you kind of hear when you start to talk about this. It's just about knowing, what you can do, what you're interested in doing, and then making those small changes. I will say in terms of looking at literature, there are intensive, like, lifestyle courses that are very successful, but I don't think it's realistic for most people to be able to drop everything and do like an intensive lifestyle course. So I always like to talk about, just like we're saying, very small things, like pick something that you're actually interested in, that's going to be an easy win for you. And just think about, what's your mind chatter? What's your mind telling you that you just got to do it? What are your supports like? How are you accountable? What does that look like for you? Because it looks different for everyone else, And I think that's why this particular topic can be so difficult to actually kind of impact, because it is so individual. And so people just have to, at the end of the day, everything I like is stillness and like looking at your own mind. So you have to observe what's going on with yourself, and be very individual.
Dr. Karen.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you have to say? What do you think?
Well, this is all good.
It is very good. And the one thing that I was thinking as you were talking, Tiffany, was just about trying to make things a habit. I heard someone say that, with some of these small steps that you're doing, you want it to be as natural as brushing your teeth. Like, you're going to brush your teeth twice a day.
Yep.
It's not like you say, oh,
hopefully people know they don't brush their teeth at least twice a day. Yes.
Right. So it's just something you have to do. Even if you're in the bed, you ate your popcorn, you have to get up and brush your teeth. So you really want to try to make some of these small things a habit. So it's just a part of it.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think it's a realization of the other thing that happens is that people who are doing a lot of the lifestyle stuff, like when you talk to other people look at you as if you're like, you have some superpower that they don't. And it's just not true. And this is why I was trying to kind of tell you guys, like, the running, I've stopped and started running multiple times over the years. Like the sugar, I had to work up to that because that's my vice and I know it. Fries, you still might see me at the Chick-fil-A drive-through. And if you do, that's fine because I limit how much I take. You know what I mean? How much I go in a week. But the point is, there's nothing different about me than anyone else. It is just getting into the habit and knowing how my mind works, knowing what I need. That's all.
It's true. It is a mindset. And also with cancer prevention, I know we're talking about lifestyle, but I did want to just bring up real quickly. I was watching the NAACP awards last night, and Chadwick Boseman, got an award, and his wife, she got on, and you would just cry if you watched it. But one of the points that she was making was just about the changes with colon cancer. We know that the age for colonoscopies has been reduced to age 45.
Yes.
So, this disease, if caught early, is highly curable. So please make sure it is. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So also, Dr. Tiff, you brought up smoking. And, if you're smoking, again, you want to take the baby steps to try to stop. But also, some of the lung cancer screening guidelines have changed and they've decreased their ages.
Yep.
And so
Yes.
we want to make these lifestyle changes, but still get with your physician about
Yes.
some of these screening
Yes.
things.
And let me just say, the reason why the guidelines have changed, both from a smoking perspective, from a lung cancer screening, and also colorectal cancer screening, is because they were seeing higher rates in Black people, right?
Yes.
So I must say that it's been this heightened awareness that Blacks are being disproportionately impacted by these diseases and at younger ages that has really shifted the kind of needle now to make sure that people are starting to get screened for both of those diseases at younger ages. And, I think it's really important, again, to really, I've got to mention Chadwick Boseman again, just because, so Jamie Foxx just recently did a PSA announcement as part of the work with Stand Up to Cancer, and I was kind of interviewed around that. I just want to kind of thank people who used their platform to really talk about the importance of lifestyle, not only lifestyle. So Tiffany, you have this platform and you're using it, and you have this certification. So thank you for using this platform to help all of us to elevate, right? So we all need to do what we can just to take control and take that power back. But that goes with cancer screening. That goes with, what we can do in terms of moving our bodies more, to reducing the amount of sugar that we put in our bodies and all that sort of thing. So I think it's really important to take whatever we can do. If you're in your community, if you're a pastor at your church, if you are like a person who's on the home association board or whatever, use that platform to really help to educate others, not only about what they can do around cancer prevention, right, but just lifestyle and wellness in general. Because I tell you, when I do move my body, my brain is better, right?
It is.
It's important. And you know what? When I don't eat right, my body will tell me that too. So I'm already experiencing that today, because I'm like, my body's like, oh, you want to put carbs back in? Is that what you're trying to do? Let me help you, right?
Right.
So it's really important that we listen to each other and that we actually use our platforms individually, wherever we are, to really talk about these things.
That's
Absolutely.
Great.
No, you're right, Karen. Absolutely.
I love that. And I think we're almost to time. So this time has flown. Yes, we have 2 minutes. So I'm going to ask, as Karen would, give your one takeaway from today. And I will start with Dr. Z. What's your takeaway?
Oh, I thought you were looking at Karen. Oh, man. So my one takeaway was...
I'm looking at.
Actually, my one takeaway was trying to take an inventory of my week to see what some of my habits are and what I'm actually doing so that I can better diagnose the problem. I mean, treat the problem that I see. So I like that. I'm going to take inventory this week to identify the problems so that we can deal with them.
Great. Dr. Karen, what's your one takeaway?
I like the idea of starting with the low-hanging fruit, right? So, and I talk about this all the time in other things. You got to have the early wins, right? And so I think starting with something that may make a difference in terms of helping to change your mindset, but will give you the opportunity to say, look, I was successful. I put my mind to doing X. I was able to do it. I did that well. I think that that's really, really good advice. And, not trying to do everything at once. So you pick the one thing that can be the low-hanging fruit that you can be successful doing.
Okay, awesome. And before I give my takeaway, we're going to thank again Oncopeptides for sponsoring us all month long.
Yes.
Coming to the close of Myeloma Month, their colon cancer awareness month as well. Thanks again for
Women's History Month.
Women's History Month, yes.
Yes, because we had Dr. Paula O'Connor, who was the bomb. So if you haven't listened to the podcast with Dr. Paula, please. We did 2 weeks in a row with her. She was phenomenal.
So good. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes. And I think, what I would like to leave with folks, I think, is you guys took two of my points. So the last one is start making a change and you will see. It's like believe and then you will see. You might be starting off with super addicted to sugar, or you like to sit a lot. When your body starts to get used to something different, that will change. Your taste will change. Your tolerance to be still will change. And so taking these small steps will change your habits, and will change what you like and what you think you can't.
Yes.
Mind.
All right.
Great job.
Great job. Living our life like it's golden. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Right.
It was great seeing y'all as usual. Speaking of, now I gotta go cook. So
have fun with that.
It's 5:00. We'll see y'all next month.
I might need to swing by. All right. Yes. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for engaging with us today.
Bye.
Thanks. See you next month.
Bye, folks.